All right. We told you yesterday that we'd start at 10:02. We started at 10:01 today. Hi. Hi. Happy New Year. Happy opening day. We're going to talk to Ryan Fagan, longtime writer for the Sporting News and a member of the Sports Hub STL team. Derrick Goold is going to be with us as well. Yes. Brooke, Randy, Matthew. And one of the great things about being in St. Louis is the Schnucks cookie cake, which for every single big important day of the year that involves sports, our friends at Schnucks make cookie cakes that say things like, let's go Cards. And our director of content, Joe Roderick, went to Schnucks this morning and picked this up. And Brooke has been eyeing this ever since we came in and started show prep. So we're going to get to this right away.
We have to.
Yeah, happy opening day. We want you to be on the chat.
Yes.
If you're on, I know you're on YouTube, so you can chat with us, okay? Because if you're watching us, but start typing. Give us some questions. We've got a lot to cover here today on opening day. I'm going Sunshine Lollipops. I want to start with this, by the way. The Cardinal Team Store is great. They've got this beautiful Cardinal pullover at the Cardinal Team Store. So if you're heading to the ballpark, whether it's today or anytime during the season, go peruse the great things at the Cardinal Team Store. They've got great quality material, and you'll really enjoy, if you get a pullover like this one, having it. Brooke, how you doing? Oh, she's working. She is working it today.
I've been eyeing this thing all morning, and I wanted to eat it beforehand so I wouldn't be rude and eat on camera. But then again, I've done that about every single show.
Yeah,
so why would I stop now at this point? Okay. And I want a cookie cake. I love cookie cakes.
Bubs, good morning to you. Water Boy, you guys are on early today. Were we really?
I know. We should be on at 10:02. We were really early today.
Error 404, name not found.
Y'all are rude. I just want to say that right now. Y'all are just rude.
Oh,
right?
No, we're not.
You guys are just rude.
This is not exactly Lombardi time that we're on here.
Tom
Coughlin would be screaming.
Unbelievable. This is just this is unfair. I need Jackie Childs on my case.
It's outrageous, egregious, preposterous.
Thank you.
Does the recent success of the Blues give higher expectations for the Cardinals? If one youth movement can be successful, why can't the other? I think logically, if we're thinking with our head, no. But if we're thinking with our heart, absolutely, because they are two different franchises in the same town, though, that theoretically compete against each other. So, yes, I agree that should be the case, that the Cardinals should have higher expectations. They should expect to compete for a playoff spot in 2025 because the Blues are competing for a playoff spot in 2025. But maybe the comp should be, does the Cardinal youth movement, should it be compared more to the Pirates youth movement or the Reds youth movement?
Yeah.
Teams that play the same sport, apples to apples in the same division, no salary cap. And I think that I know there's a lot of people that, for whatever reason, take shots at Doug Armstrong. What Doug Armstrong has done, when you compare the Blues to the Chicago Blackhawks or the Anaheim Ducks or the San Jose Sharks or the Buffalo Sabres, the Blues have been able to build, I would say, 3 different nucleuses or nuclei and never really be terrible. And I think that that's unprecedented. What do you got there, Matthew? Matthew's someone help.
No, Randy's doing all the talking, and I'm
so there we go.
Apparently,
she's slicing up the cookie cake.
The video aspect of this is coming back.
But I did a good job.
But
look,
when you think about going from the Backus, Oshie, Halak, Eric Johnson group, and then you morphed into that group with Shaddy and Petro on the back line and Chris Stewart up front, and you still had Oshie around, but then you brought in Steiner, and he was a big part of it. And then you had the group that won the cup, obviously, where Steiner was, that group was more Tarasenko and O'Reilly, and you still had Petro, but you'd brought in Bo. And now you've got another nucleus or nuclei. I don't know what's correct. But I think what Doug Armstrong has done in never being terrible and being essentially on his third group of nucleus type players, I think it's remarkable what he's done. Go ahead.
You were waiting for me to go ahead. No,
The
you can go ahead
plural
and
for
start us off.
nucleus
You did a great job in
is-
explaining. I think that it's really hard to compare the two. Now, there is a good mix of veterans that Doug Armstrong brought into this season that you have there already with the Blues, but a lot of young players. So I understand the comparison, but it is very different with what they're both trying to accomplish here.
I think one thing that we can, and this is not a shot because we're Sunshine Lollipops today.
Yes.
Not unfair because the Cardinals admit it. I don't think you would ever have said over the last, since, let's say since 2012, last 13 years. I don't think you could ever say that the Blues were passed up. I think the Blues are actually, when you look at Holloway and Broberg and those contracts that they got, the Blues are cutting edge. Their ability to evaluate young talent and draft late in the first round and still get Jordan Kyrou, a second round player, Robert Thomas taken later in the first round, Neighbors taken later in the first round, Matt Kessel, whoever knew who Matt Kessel was. The Blues have done a really good job, and they've never been passed up. I think the Cardinals, by their own admission, were passed up in terms of development of players, not necessarily the evaluation of and getting young players into their organization, but the development of those players. The Cardinals got passed up, and I think that's one place where you have to give the Blues a ton of credit, but you can't give the Cardinals a ton of credit.
Well, and also the evaluation process too of getting Holloway, getting in Broberg was fantastic by Doug Armstrong this season, and bringing in Jim Montgomery made a huge difference. We were just talking about that prior to the show about how nothing against your Bannister, but Jim Montgomery, the way he's been able to elevate all of these players, that was a huge move by Doug Armstrong.
Andy, good morning to you. Happy opening day. And Mick99, can you guys say yo-ho a few times? Yeah.
Yo-ho.
We need to,
also,
I wonder if we can steal that text line back.
Probably not, no. I do want to say that
fully?
the plural for nucleus is nuclei or nucleuses, whereas nucleuses is the more standard English plural, whereas nuclei is Latin. And also, for no reason that is completely unconnected to cake, I think you guys should talk about the newsletter really quick.
We'll do it.
Oh, it is. Hey, no, get away from our cake.
Okay, here's the newsletter. Sorry about this. I'm eating. Make sure you've subscribed to our YouTube page and like this video. And if you haven't already, go to sportshubstl.com and sign up for the Hub newsletter. It's sent to your inbox twice a week and anytime St. Louis sports news breaks. Do I sound like I'm eating? You'll be the first to know about Sports Hub STL events and merchandise, get exclusive content and prize opportunities, and more. And while you're on the site, check out all of the St. Louis sports content, including game recaps, programming highlights, sports news and opinion, gambling tips, and more. It's all on the website at sportshubstl.com. Did you ever think in all of these years that I could be this unprofessional?
But that's the beauty of podcasting, Randy, is that that's the expectation. I'm over here like people saw me struggling to cut this cookie cake. I would never have done that on TV or radio, probably. No.
We're podcasters.
But maybe I should have. Who knows? A lot of people talking about the cookie cake and me struggling. It is cut beautifully. I made sure that everybody would be able to get a piece. Now, Justin, you've been asking this question about every single day, so I feel like I should address this. But he's asking why there's less bobbleheads this season. I don't know. I didn't think to ask that, but you're right. I think there are less bobbleheads this season.
Did we see 3 on
There was
theme
3.
nights?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
They didn't address that, but a lot of the other things were really cool.
Yeah, they've got a lot of really nice promotions this year and theme nights.
Yeah.
In fact, they've got I don't know if it's a theme night. They've got a Navy. You saw the cap?
Yeah.
It's a Navy fleur-de-lis logo cap that they have.
A lot of City Connect stuff. So if you are a fan,
50%.
If you are a fan of City Connect, which I know that some people have very strong feelings about it, but if you're a fan of City Connect, then they have a lot of that stuff in their giveaways.
Okay, this one from Rip It Up Cards. We love Rip It Up Cards, and we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to here it is. Butter was booed in Miami 2 nights ago. Butter was booed? Why would somebody boo Butter? I don't want to be rude, but here we go. I don't want to be rude, but want to voice displeasure. Should I boo, applaud, or remain moot when Mo is announced?
Ooh, good question.
Why was Butter booed? Like the food butter?
No, I think he might be misspelling an executive in the Miami organization. Or Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler.
Wow. I was not expecting
butter is
I'm sorry, here's the
necessary.
thing. I was not in any way expecting somebody with ripping up cards. I just simply wasn't expecting him to be making.
Okay,
an NBA
well, okay,
reference.
so
I thought he
we'll get
was
to this in
making a
moment,
baseball
but
reference.
Let me start with this. Our friends out at the Smokehouse in Chesterfield, okay? If you're going to buy a steak and make it a treat for yourself, go out and buy the ribeye at the Smokehouse in Chesterfield. It's absolutely delicious. Tom Sater
Yeah.
and the guys behind the counter are the best. You'll love them. But one thing they told me is if you get one of their ribeyes, put it in the grill, high temperature on your skillet, your cast iron skillet, with butter and thyme. Okay. So you start with butter and thyme, melt the butter, high temperature on your grill, and then use their secret seasoning out at the Smokehouse. Brooke, Matthew, Wilson, the best steak I've ever had, whether it's at a restaurant or not, I made on my grill at home. And I didn't do it on the Traeger. I did it on the Weber Summit, high temperature with melted butter and thyme and then the secret seasoning. It's unbelievable.
Wow, what a flex.
So I don't know how I got
Best
there.
steak that you've ever gotten. I don't
Best
either
steak, yeah,
because
but-
we were
because
talking about butter and Jimmy Butler. So
Okay.
Jimmy Butler, this is a good question because it does happen, especially in recent years. Mo gets booed. I think he expects it at this point.
And he embraces it and he thinks that you're yelling newt. So it's fine. Newt.
I think he knows.
Yeah.
Here's the thing is that we've talked to John Moselock a lot, and John is very well aware of how fans feel about him currently. But I think that he has really thick skin. You kind of have to in that role. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people boo. But for the people who are coming on the chat, are you going to be over at Busch Stadium today? We're going to head over there after the show today to go cover the game. But are you going to be over there? How are you celebrating Cardinals opening day? We're doing it by eating a cookie cake.
Yeah. And I am, Brooke, I am going to head over to the Ford Plaza. I'm going to get one of those brisket dogs too. They're really good.
Ooh, I'm getting the Shack sandwich.
Okay, there you
That's what I'm getting.
So, okay, guys, one has to go. Cookie cake versus gooey butter cake. Who's the king? The Schnooks, and Schnooks has great gooey butter cake too. And I know that gooey butter cake is indigenous to our town.
Rip off the Band-Aid.
But one has to go. You've given me the question. I am here to give you answers. Gooey butter cake's got to go.
Yeah, I agree. Cookie cake is always the king in this situation. I like gooey butter cake, but I don't know, and maybe somebody in the chat can chime in on this. I don't know which came first, but gooey butter cake, the first time I had it, tasted like chess pie. Chess pie is a big delicacy in the South. It's a lot sweeter than gooey butter cake. I kind of like chess pie a little bit more. I'm sorry. Is that blasphemous to say that?
I think you honed it on the one reason that despite being a huge gooey butter cake fan, I can't eat a lot of it because it's so sweet. It's almost like
but imagine it being sweeter because that's what chess pie is.
Where I get like one piece of gooey butter cake. And so as much as I love it, I could have 4 pieces of cookie cake.
No.
I cannot have 4 pieces of gooey butter
It's the right amount of cookie. It's the right amount of icing.
Always chocolate chips in there.
There used to be a restaurant at University Club Tower, and there's still one out at Wing Haven, Blue Sky Cafe. And the former owners of Blue Sky, I think the owner and his wife, I think her mom was Miss Hullings and made the chocolate chip gooey butter cake, which was absolutely delicious. But I don't know that that's around anymore. So if you know of a great chocolate chip gooey butter cake, you can hop on the chat line. Okay, so we're here to talk sports.
We need to do bold predictions.
Yeah, we do need to do bold predictions.
Bold.
Happy opening day. I just want to make sure that we get everybody taken care of here. No. Sorry, gooey butter cake is so much better. Barkley, can you give us the proper pronunciation of your last name? It's Guiot. Guy?
Let me see. Where is
Barkley,
this?
if you can please text in with the proper pronunciation of your last name because I want to get it right.
Ooh, this is
Guiot.
a good question.
Maybe that's why he likes gooey butter cake. If it's Buddy Barkley Guiot.
Is this going to be where the G is silent somehow?
I think so. Okay, one's got to go.
Wait.
Ballpark nachos or hot dog.
Ooh.
Okay, well, the thing that's going to go. No, it's
I
not.
love nachos though, especially the
Nachos gotta-
tachos.
Gio,
Yeah,
Barkley Gio. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, the
But
G is
nachos
there.
are harder to eat, and they don't have the connotation and nostalgia of a hot dog at a ball game.
Look, if you say this bold stuff, you better get in the bubble. Okay?
Yeah, right.
You better show your face with these
people-
statements.
People need to know
You
who they're
better
seeing.
show your face.
Yeah, in the bakery at Schnucks. People need to know.
People need to see your face with these statements that you have. Okay.
Hey, Jay Renegade Rides, rushing home from work a bit early to fire up the grill and watch opening day with my brother up here in the DC area. Thank you very much for joining the podcast from DC, and have a great time. Tell us what you're putting on the grill today.
Hot dogs.
Yep. Topher Rocks. Today is my favorite holiday. Looking forward to a brisket hot dog later today. Topher Rocks. Nice play. Very nice play. We both enjoyed that, didn't we?
Yes.
Great.
It was delicious. Jalapeno. Thank you.
Thomas.
Jalapenos by my nachos. Come on, guys. Nachos are delicious. Now, would I like both? Yes. But I'm a nachos gal. I love nachos.
I love nachos too.
Especially if they're those tachos. Hot dogs, always great. Now, here's the controversial part.
Okay.
Do you put everything on your hot dog? I'm a ketchup, mustard. I didn't realize that was that controversial.
Somebody, Evan Cohen, who doesn't have any good takes on the morning show on ESPN Radio. But yeah, he thinks that, and there's a lot of people that do, that think that ketchup on a hot dog is blasphemous.
Is that a Chicago thing?
I don't know if it's, I think there's just people that think that that's a really good take that maybe have not tried it.
It's the two, both New York and Chicago, the two big cities that like pride themselves on
Their dogs.
hot dogs. They both have the you don't put hot.
I wonder if they tried
an
it.
adult doesn't put a ketchup on a hot dog.
I do.
They view it as a kid thing
And I'm
because
a
it's
kid
sweet.
at heart. I'm a
Because
kid
it's
at heart.
sweet.
But it's perfect.
I agree.
It's perfect. Yeah, so I'm with
It's
you.
perfect.
And ketchup and mustard together.
Yes.
It's
I
great.
mean, it's delicious. And then I'll add even more stuff on there. I like chili dogs. I don't think that a hot dog should be bare.
No,
Is what I'm
with you.
saying. Even
the-
if it's a great hot dog, it shouldn't be bare.
The other day, I was playing golf at Whitmore, stopped at the clubhouse for lunch and ordered a hot dog, ketchup and mustard. It was exquisitely applied, by the way, and it was really, really good. So I have no complaints. And, oh, by the way, you get a great bun with a great dog. Makes a huge difference.
Yes.
So, so bold predictions. Somebody predicted 35 home runs and 150 Ks for Nolan Gorman this year. I like that prediction. I would accept that prediction.
Yes. And then Talking with the Soul said, happy opening day, Brooke and Randy. Who do you think hits the first home run if one is hit for the Cardinals today? I'm going with Wilson Contreras.
I'm going to go with Nolan Arenado.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, he is really fired up going into this.
He's an
season.
opening day guy too. He's done
He
it on
is.
opening day before.
Yes. He is a big opening day guy.
Okay, so the prediction that we're going to make, the bold prediction, is just for today. It's not for the season. It's something that we can
I
react
was
to
thinking
tomorrow. Let's do
season.
something that we can react to so that we can either be miserably wrong or incredibly.
Okay, Victor
happy.
Scott II will steal a base today.
Okay, I like that. That's a really good bold prediction.
It's not that bold, but
and-
I could have been fancier with it, I guess.
And we are going sunshine lollipops today. Okay. I am going to go with Lars Nootbaar getting a couple of hits and scoring at least one run.
I like that.
Leadoff hitter,
Yes.
hot in spring training, especially down the stretch.
Mhm.
And
Healthy.
oh, by the way, who else is going to make this prediction other than the Nutty Neuters of Newt Nation?
Yes, I like that. For my bold prediction for the season, how about Lars Nootbaar staying healthy for the entire season?
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
You want-
20 home runs. I won't say 20 plus, but I'll give you Lars Nootbaar healthy for an entire season, at least 20 home runs.
I was going to make a negative bold prediction, but we're being happy. We're being sunshine
We
lollipops
had a cookie
today.
cake. We have to be happy.
Yep. My bold prediction is for a guy that's not even here. I've got Quinn Matthews winning 10 games with a sub 3.5 earned run average for the Cardinals this year.
I like that one. I like that a lot.
Sunshine lollipops
So we
and
have
rainbow.
Corey saying Herrera will win a Silver Slugger. Okay.
How about this one? Herrera moonshot today. That's from JJ Productions.
I like that. Bubs Burley Bomb.
Oh, Burley bombs are good. That Chip will have a great time. We have to text him. and
Yes.
make sure that he says if Burley hits a home run that it's a Burley bomb. Somebody have his number?
I thought you have his number.
Oh,
I
I'll
didn't know
text
if you're
him.
being. It seems like Ryan Fagan. Is Ryan Fagan ready to go? Yes.
Oh, good. Our
Yes.
buddy Ryan Fagan, one of the preeminent baseball writers in America and a member of the Sports Hub STL team, is down at the ballpark. And there he is. How are you, sir?
Hi.
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing fantastic. Happy opening day. So what's it been like down there so far?
I tell you what. Well, first of all, I was coming down here all prepared to eat healthy and do all these good things, and you guys are talking about all this like great stuff down at the ballpark, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna have my work cut out for me to be disciplined today. But yeah, I mean it's great. You walk past the musical statue and all the statues out front, and it just, I mean, it feels like baseball. I know this year might be a little bit different, but it's still baseball, and you kind of look at it, what's happening around the country and all the games that are going and the pitching matchups we have. And it's just fantastic. Very excited.
What are you most excited about with opening day? I know that we're going to get into some baseball talk here too, but I know that everybody has their favorite thing, whether it's the Clydesdales or the Red Jackets. Is there something that you always look forward to every single year?
I always tell myself I'm not going to stand up when the Clydesdales music starts. And then I do, because, it's not that you just want to see them, but you want to be the first one to see them. And standing up in the press box, you're not necessarily standing straight up, but you kind of like lean up in your seat a little bit to look out. And it's cool to see the horses. Obviously, it's cool to see the way people react to it. I think that's the biggest thing. It's just the way that the people react to that element of the tradition of baseball here in St. Louis. That's really cool.
Hey, Ryan, not many teams have done, and I know the Cardinals have never used the term rebuild here, but it's rare that a team does a reset, and the guys that they planned on resetting with wind up being guys who win a World Series with. Like when Houston won, remember they went out and got Brian McCann, and they went out and got, I think, JJ, whatever his name was in left field. They traded for Verlander. It wasn't really the guys that they planned on winning with. Same with the Cubs. They had to go out and get Lackey, and they got Lester, and they traded for Aroldis Chapman. For you, from your perspective, what does a reset a successful reset / rebuild look like?
I mean, obviously the goal is to win a title, right? And the goal is to win multiple titles and division titles, World Series titles. That's the goal. When you compare, the Astros and Cubs are very good comparisons in terms of what they want to accomplish. Now, the Cardinals are starting from a better position than the Astros and Cubs did. I mean, those are franchises that went down and lost, not just 100 games, but 105, 110 games. And they were really, really bad for multiple years. I think the Cardinals already, at least potentially, have that base, right? So you're not looking at, hey, let's mess around for 3 years and let's not be very good, and then we'll add guys like Lackey, we'll add guys like Josh Reddick, that like the Astros did, and we'll do those types of things. The Cardinals might be there next year. I mean, if we're being honest, the year after that, it's not as long of a runway. And I think that's the biggest difference between the rebuilds that we've seen and what the Cardinals have called the reset. And I say that, and it's interesting because there's kind of a contrast between what the front office wanted, what they said at the end of last year, and what the players wanted. And so far, it seems like the players are kind of winning, right? Sonny Gray says, I'm not going anywhere. Wilson Contreras says he's staying. Nolan Arenado made it very difficult to be traded too. So, they kind of said, hey, we think we can still win here. And, that's part of the reason, if Nolan Arenado thought this was a 100-loss team, his list of teams he would accept him to trade to would have been much bigger, but it's not. And I think it's been interesting to see that dynamic play out over the offseason, over spring training, and we'll see what it looks like, in the first month of the season, how much they're committed to that reset and how much they think, maybe since these veterans decided to stay here and really insisted on staying here, maybe we'll try to add a little bit to that and make a run.
What is your bold prediction for the season? We were giving our bold predictions. You have a bold prediction for the Cardinals this season.
It was the very first show, Cards 365 show I did with Sports Hub. I told Joe Roderick, I want to talk about Victor Scott, because I was there when he, winter warm, when he talked about the notebook, he talked about the mental work that he's been putting in to prepare for this season. I think he's going to have a breakout year. I think you look at what Mason Wynn did last year after struggling in his first taste of the big leagues the year before. Victor Scott has the potential, and he's put the work in to be better this year than Mason Wynn was last year. I think when you talk about, potential, even a potential all-star berth, a nod to get into the midsummer classic, that's a possibility. I think he's really set up to have the kind of breakthrough year that, really the Cardinals need. And he wasn't the guy they would have picked, 4 months ago, but I think he's put himself in position.
One more thing from me, Ryan, and that's in regards to the league. Who do you think the second best team in the league? We all know who the best team in the league is. Who's the second best team in the National League?
It's either Philadelphia or Arizona. Arizona's sneaky good, even with Jordan Montgomery going down for Tommy John surgery. Corbin Carroll is a guy that he could win the MVP this year. And I know he struggled at the beginning last year, but he's been very better. Or he was much better in the second half. You look at that rotation; it's dynamic. They've got Ketel Marte. They've got a lot of players who can come in there and hit home runs. They're very good. Philadelphia, obviously, when you're starting a rotation with Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, that's a pretty good place to start. And they've got all those established veteran guys: Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Bryson Stott. They've got them all over the ballpark. And I think what I'm interested to see with Philadelphia, and the reason I don't definitively say they're the second best, is how are they going to add to what they've had to take that jump that they haven't taken the last couple of years, right? Is Alec Boehm going to be the third baseman all year? Are they going to go out and try to make an upgrade? Is Nick Castellanos going to play 160 games? Or do they go out and make an upgrade if he hits the way he did last year, which wasn't exactly, peak Castellanos? So that's what I'm interested to see is what the teams do to accentuate what they already have. And I think Philly has the core to be the second best team. I'm not sure that they're quite clearly that yet.
Ryan, great material. Thank you very much. And, of course, we'll be seeing you and hearing you throughout the course of the season here on Sports Hub STL. Great to have you as a teammate, and we'll see you down there.
Enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Ryan Fagan from Sports Hub STL, already down at the ballpark this morning. And interesting. I was kind of thinking about Arizona, too. I really do think after the Dodgers, when you look at the starting rotation and then you look at what they've been able to add, I like what they added Naylor from Cleveland as their first baseman to replace Christian Walker. I think they have a lot of really good elements. Maybe the most underrated player in the league in Ketel Marte. I'm a fan of the Diamondbacks.
It was a lot more tactical. So Dodgers, obviously, as Miles Michaelis said once, they play checkbook baseball, and it works out well for him, obviously. But it seems like what the Diamondbacks did was a little bit more feasible for other teams and tactical.
Yes, yeah, and that's what the Dodgers do is impossible, and what the Diamondbacks are doing, not on a shoestring budget, but they're doing it for a lot less than the Dodgers. That's a pretty good team. Hey, did you know we have Cards Hub 365 pre and post game today, and it's brought to you by Gray Bar. Comes up right before the Cardinal game and then right after the Cardinal game here on Sports Hub STL. All you have to do is find it right here on the Sports Hub STL YouTube page after the Cardinals take on the Twins at the ballpark, and you can get the show on demand from YouTube following the live broadcast, as well as on Apple, Spotify, and any other major podcast outlet. Cards Hub 365, daily Cardinal content right here on Sports Hub STL, powered by Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. It is always great to visit with our friend Derrick Goold of STL Today in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And Derrick is with us now as we get ready for the Cards and the Twins this afternoon. It is opening day in St. Louis. It's a holiday in St. Louis, and we head to the Zoom line now. And Derrick Goold, who has been writing Cardinal baseball for many years at STLtoday.com and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, joins us, of course, also one of the hosts of the best podcast in baseball. D. Goold, thanks for joining us on opening day. We know it's a really busy day for you, so we really do appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm all right. Good morning. Happy New Year, as we say in the baseball writing business. I woke up to several texts from folks saying Happy New Year. So
that's great. Your work has been exemplary, as it always is, during spring training. And I loved your piece this morning about the style of play. And I want to read folks a quote that you got from Ollie Marmol. He was asked by you to describe the style of his team during a particularly whitey ball sequence in spring training. And Ollie said, youthful, energetic, electric style. I want our guys to play with an edge. You can't mistake it, this type of edge. You can't help but see it. There's an energy to it. There's an energy to setting the tone early and then keeping your foot on the gas. So here's my question for you. The first one, Derrick. Vince Coleman was on with us the other day and told us that Whitey Herzog gave him the green light before he had ever played a major league game. Do you think Ollie is going to allow these people, these young players, to be their own aggressive, or do you think there will be constraints?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I thought you were going to say the green light question, Randy, and I was all set for that going, well, no, there's a calculator now, and they do odds, and they say, well, how fast is this guy's pop time, and how fast is this guy's delivery time, and how big is your lead, and then, okay, go. It's more of a slide rule than it is a green light. So do they get the slide rule is really the question. But you put it really well, because that was kind of when I was talking with Oliver Marmol outside the Cardinals clubhouse, that's something that he kept going back to, was this notion of, if they're going to be this team and they're going to lean into youth and they're going to have a year where they shed the expectations that go with the logo on the front, then he's going to have to let them be, and really prioritize, let them be the name on the back. And he said, let's look at what that looks like. Because that doesn't mean that they're not a team, but you have to really allow for the individuality to come out, allow for personality in the clubhouse to come out. Every team is different. And I think we all would describe the past few teams as a stoic team. In some ways, it was reflective of the players in there that fit what they were looking for. This team, it might have the personality of Wilson Contreras, not stoic. It might have the personality of Nolan Arenado, not stoic. It might have the personality and verve of a Mason Wynn, again, not stoic. There's a lot of youthfulness, a lot of vigor there. And, Oliver Marmol and his coaching staff, they're like, how to bring that out. And he even mentioned that, like, a couple of the hires that they made, and John Jay and Brent Brown, were to facilitate that. These are two high energy, enthusiastic, very much big personality coaches. And he wanted to foster that and then see how that manifests on the field. With individuality, with personality comes comfort. With comfort comes a style of play, and he's eager to see what that is.
Gould, just looking at this roster, we're talking about roster flexibility, right? Because you have to make sure that you can get all these guys, especially these young guys, as many at bats as possible. But sometimes fluidity does not lead to consistency.
Oh, it never does. No, it doesn't.
Yeah. No. So how is Ollie Marmol going to balance this? Did he reveal kind of that during spring training of how he's going to make sure that guys like Nootbaar, Gorman, these young players, Wynn, etc., make sure that they're getting enough at bats?
Yeah, I think there's going to be like a commitment to it, in the sense that you have these guys are the priority starters. These guys are the mix and match when it comes to matchups. I think we get kind of stuck in the fact that, there's an everyday lineup, and we should look really at that. There's a lot of at bats available. It's possible for excuse my dog there in the background. I warned you she's going to want to be on. Yeah, I'm no kidding. Every time. Marvel. She just can't. She hears Zooms and she's like, I want to be in the meeting. I need the attention. But anyway, so sorry. I think, when you look at, like, there are enough at bats for 4 outfielders, even though there are 3 spots to get every day at bats. The math just works. Or you have to throw in the DH now in the National League, and it completely changes. So you have Marvel does not like the DH in the National League, as you guys can hear. She is very old school in the sense that she does not like the DH. But okay, so there's plenty of at-bats to be had, and I think you're going to see that work through it, right? You're going to have this notion of you're going to have guys who are there every day. Mason Wynn is the everyday shortstop. Brendan Donovan is an everyday player, might not have an everyday position. Lars Nootbaar is an everyday outfielder. You're going to have things like that. Jordan Walker is an everyday outfielder as long as his production merits it. Nolan Gorman is the one that gets pinched here. And it's going to be the performance elsewhere on the field that creates an opening for him, or it's going to be the style of pitcher that creates an opening for him. And then he sees what it does with it.
You used a great term that I really like, priority at bats. So the belief now is that, and by the way, this would have been a lot easier. Brooke and I have talked about it a lot for Ollie Marmol if Nolan Arenado had accepted the trade to Houston. But the fact of the matter is, Arenado is still here. But
yeah, but you know what? Though, real quick, Randy, like, think about all the things that would be harder if Nolan Arenado weren't here. Like convincing the young guys that they're going to win. Like this is I understand exactly what you're saying, and we've heard a lot about this at spring. It's like, man, some of these decisions would have been easier if Nolan Arenado were here. Okay, talk about what would be more difficult with Nolan Arenado not here. Winning, selling these young players on the fact that they have a chance to win when they had their third baseman ripped out of the clubhouse. I mean, there's a lot going on there that would have been just as difficult. So, but you're totally right. The lineup would be much easier, but there would be some things on the outside looking in that would be a lot harder.
And my point is they had to determine a guy that is not going to receive priority at bats. I wouldn't have thought that at the beginning of spring training, but like you said, Gorman is the guy that, because of spring training, appears to have gotten less priority here. Yeah,
I think that's fair. Also just the positions that he plays. That's just kind of the nature of the thing. He's really good at second base. He plays to his arm, has great arm strength. He's better at third base than probably folks know because they haven't seen him a lot there. But he can handle the third base there. But at each spot, there's somebody just slightly better than him or significantly better than him, right? There's Brendan Donovan or there's Nolan Arenado. I think what really changed this lineup calculus is Victor Scott II. Had he not had the strong spring that he had he not won center field with both offense and defense, the Cardinals would have gone into the season with Lars Nootbaar in center, and that would have freed up position for the spot for Nolan Gorman. So really, in a way, yes, Nolan Arenado's presence here does not give Nolan Gorman starts at third base, but it's Victor Scott's performance during spring that won that job, created kind of a downstream effect where Nolan Gorman is not in the lineup.
I want to bring another quote to the fore here from your piece today at stltoday.com. And this is from Miles Michaelis, who talked about players having a chip on their shoulder. He said, if I pitch better, we're a better team. If you go and ask Sonny and say, hey, are you that guy or are you better? He's better. Maybe the chip on the shoulder is a different color. In past years, it's been okay. People think we're falling off and we're still on top. This year, we're under the gun from last year, and people expect us to slide even further. We talk a lot about the runway for the young players. One of the things the Cardinals are also going to find out this year is whether people like veteran guys like Arenado. Is this a real trend of the last 2 years with Miles Michaelis? Is this a trend of the last 2 years? We're going to find out with those guys getting runway whether or not they're capable of being winning major leaguers still.
That's a great point, Randy. And also in each case, those guys are pitching their way either to make something of the Cardinals that the Cardinals aren't ready to make of themselves, or to make their way to another team so that they can contend come September and October. And their contribution to the future of the Cardinals will be what they bring in because of how well they pitched. I think it's a really fascinating kind of dilemma here. There's really, I think, and thank you for bringing up that article. I think, I also mentioned there's just this duality to the roster right now where there's some youth, but also it's the first time since 2007 they don't have a rookie. There's a reset, but it's also the first time in years. Well, first time really in memory, 30 plus years now, that they have 24 returning players on an active roster. So the Cardinals wanted to do all these things. They didn't really do any of them, and yet they might do them on the fly. And that's really what this is if you get the performance from Miles Michaelis, like he thinks he can, or Sonny Gray, or Eric Fetty, or Steven Matz. I talked to a scout who said, he was saying, why would they put Matz in the bullpen when they should try to maximize what they get for him by being a starter? Like, if we all see him in relief and he's all great, we're going to play relief prices. If he's off and a starter and he's just okay, then they can command a starter price. I think that's a real fascinating part of this season, is how the Cardinals set up to either see where these veterans take them, and maybe it's to a place that they don't expect. Maybe they play beyond the expected numbers. Maybe they play their way into this very personable and hospitable NL Central race because the other teams are so kind and patient to allow other contenders to emerge. Or maybe they play their way to another team, and in that way, what they leave behind is the infusion of talent that's going to carry the Cardinals in 26, 27, maybe 28.
Derrick, I wanted to ask you about just sticking, especially looking at the starting rotation. You have an article out too about Sonny Gray. Of course, we've seen his velo has been down a bit during spring training. How is he feeling going into the season?
Yeah, he said he's feeling much better. He had the flu-like or flu-ish symptoms there, pitched through them in his final start. But, the velocity wasn't there from the beginning. He was fiddling around with what he described to me as a different approach. He felt last year that he became predictable in his pitch sequences, what he was choosing in certain counts, what he relied on most. He kind of traced that back to the number of home runs he gave up, because it allowed for guys to kind of know where they were going, or where he was going, know where he was going with his pitches, and they could get the A swing off. To do that, I think, he also talked about wanting to ramp up during spring, where he would purposefully go at, say, second gear in the early going, so that then he could be at fifth gear by opening day. Opening days here, we'll see if that worked out. The flu kind of threw it off a little bit, felt a little weak, felt, just what we've all experienced with the flu, or a bad cold. And, he had to kind of pitch through that. He feels better. He feels confident that he can find a way through. He may not feel, like he told my colleague Lynn Worthy and others, that he can rear back and get back to 95. He hopes that it's there at some point in time. He'd be thrilled if it shows up today. But he's confident that he can find a different way through. It's probably worth noting that he did have a lot of strikeouts. So he gave up home runs still in spring training, gave up a lot of runs in spring training. But he also missed a lot of bats. And when he wanted to, that sweeping slider, whatever I'm supposed to call it these days. I think it's a sweeper.
It's a slider. You call it a sweeper, but it is a slider.
No, you know what? I'm gonna call it by its actual name. You ready, Randy? Okay, here we go. Ready? It's a seam shifted wake slider. So that's what I'm gonna call it.
There you
go. The seam shifted wake, and what he does with that pitch just foils hitters, and so he can always go to that. He's got great pitchability. We'll see what velocity he has, and he feels better, to your question, Brooke, but I don't know. I kind of think he needs some return on the results to feel good.
Hey, Derrick, one more thing from me, and this is kind of a big picture thing, and you have more thoughtful conversations with people in this organization than anybody in town. And the fact of the matter is, Bill DeWitt Sr. has always told us,
to their chagrin, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I know Mr. DeWitt has told you in the past, he enjoys having star players around. When they went out and traded for Arenado and Goldie, when they traded for Holiday and signed him, when they brought in all those stars during the 2000 to 2010 era, he likes that. He's really proud of the fact that the Cardinals have had the Hall of Famers and at least one in uniform for a long time. Yet they've hired a guy who's taking over as the Pobo, who comes from a Tampa model where they get rid of players before they make the big money as stars. Have you been able to glean any idea as to whether or not the Cardinals will take the Tampa Bay approach that Chaim Bloom comes from, or the Cardinals approach, which has been a star-laden approach in the past? Do you have any idea?
I do, actually. And it's a little bit of everything. This is actually like a question I've asked a lot about, including of Bill DeWitt Jr. and Bill DeWitt III, and then also John Mozeliak. And Chaim Bloom doesn't really talk on the record much, but at least early in the time here, in fact, he doesn't talk on the record at all. I think he's only spoken with Cardinals Magazine, the in-house publication. So we've had chances to talk, but not interview. But before that happened, before he kind of got the official heir apparent or president in waiting, what are we calling him? President-elect Bloom? Before he got before he became President-elect Bloom, we did have a talk about this. So I give that all as context, because what really I found interesting was the descriptions of, okay, here's a guy who did it in Tampa Bay with a shoestring budget, where innovation was king, and where if they were going to increase salaries, it was going to be with coaches and scouts and development and infrastructure, because they weren't going to pay the high dollars for players, and they needed to get bigger bang for the buck, which they thought that they could get by being very competitive with the salaries they offered the coaches and the scouts and the analytics and things like that. Okay, so that's that business model. Then he goes to Boston, and Boston at the time was a big wallet, fat checkbook, English Premier League, American League East payroll powerhouse. And so what the Cardinals want to be, and Boston has the history, right? So history, especially recent history of championships, but that great history, that great ballpark, huge fan base and everything like that. So what the Cardinals really liked about Bloom was this blend, this idea that he has been to Boston, had difficulties there, was thrown into a bad situation, pressed to make what will be a bad trade, but knows how to move, money, right? Not just trade, but over to the other side of the table to push all in on Rafael Devers, for example, right? Like that extension was Chaim Bloom's. He did that to keep that star there. That is not a deal that the Tampa Bay Rays would do. That is a deal that the Boston Red Sox would do. And that is a deal that the Cardinals, with the backing and the filter and the lens of, say, a Tampa Bay focus, would do. And that's what they want in Chaim Bloom, is this blend of understanding how to innovate and push and pay competitively for the support like a Tampa Bay, and act like a historic team that can spend above its marketplace. That's where they are with him. So I think you ask a great question. And, I think a year from now, we're going to have a real sense of what that means with what they're doing with Mason Wynn, right? What kind of contract are they talking about with Mason? You want a litmus test? Like, watch his season this year and watch how soon after Chaim Bloom takes over as president of baseball operations are they talking about an extension and what that looks like.
Derrick, we know that you have to get down to the ballpark and into the clubhouse. We really appreciate your time on opening day, and we will see you down there at Busch later today.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. It's great to catch up with both of you. It's great to see you both. So thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Steve.
so
Thanks
much.
for letting my dog hang out for a little bit.
That was great.
She's very opinionated.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Love it.
Wait, don't get her started on bunts. Holy cow.
All right. Thanks, Derrick. We'll see you down there. Take care. One of our favorites, Derrick Goold, and he does a great job at stltoday.com. And, of course, you can always buy the St. Louis Post-Dispatch when you step by your local Mobile on the Run store. Buy Mobile on the Run in O'Fallon yesterday. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, was there.
Oh, I saw that he was in town.
Yeah, there was a line going all the way around the store so that people could get their picture taken with the Nature Boy. Woo! I wanted to get an autograph. I was going to get an autograph for Katie Woo. I can say now because I didn't get it, but I wanted to get an autograph that said, to my great fan, Katie, period.
Woo! I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Didn't happen. Cards Up 365 coming up today before the game, 1:00. And then after the game, after it's concluded, will we do Cards Up 365 during a rain delay? Will we do rain delay theater here? Matthew's
to entertain the masses
person.
And honestly, only if we actually develop something that we call literally rain delay theater,
Okay.
and then we fill it with incredibly inane stuff. Like we have like 30 minutes of breaking down a Cardinals thing, and then all of a sudden it's Brendan Schaefer like doing a puppet show.
Okay.
And then we do that for like 20 minutes, and then we go back to like an actual like Cardinals talk, and then we flash to I don't know, just some other inane, stupid thing for 20 minutes. If we do it that way, I'm down.
Okay. Pre-game, though, 1:00, correct? Post-game
Yes.
immediately after the game. And then the Blues are in Nashville tonight, Bridgestone Arena. Blues have played Nashville. This will be their third game in 10 days against the Predators, and third game in 6 against the Predators. Then, of course, you had a little, would you call Sunday night a brouhaha?
Yeah, I would say brouhaha.
Yeah, I think so. You had the Nathan Walker hit. You had the
there was a lot of consternation.
There was, yeah.
Yes.
You had the guy trying to take out Robert Thomas's knee.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ooh, so do you think like as the game starts today, we're gonna have like 4 nations when when the gloves were dropped pretty early on, and we'll just have fight after fight after fight?
If Jim Montgomery has Nadub in the starting lineup,
I
think
love
we
that.
can bet on it. Yeah.
Yeah. He is a wee little lad, but man, he can fight.
Oh,
what do you say for Australians who are short? Because that was kind of Irish of me to say wee little lad.
Oh, that's a great question. And we do have the chat line open, and we want pithy comments, Pithy. It's short, concise, but meaningful. And what do you Dingo ate my baby. I don't know.
He's Australian, so we're trying to figure something out there. Waterboy says lineup game. We can't do that because we accidentally saw it, and it's the same one from the other day.
And we don't have the ding sound yet.
Ding.
How about this one from Eric Letford? Just my opinion here. It's good to be optimistic, but you also have to be realistic. The Cardinals will be lucky to win 80 games. Well, the over-under in Vegas is 76.5. So, yes, you're right. But I like being optimistic, and I think they're going to go over 76.5. I think they're going to win 81.
Wow. Yeah.
And they may be lucky when they do that. But you know what? It's things have happened in the past in baseball that we did not expect. Like was it 2 years ago that the Diamondbacks went to the World Series?
Mhm.
And nobody expected that. And sometimes magical things happen. We had Vince Coleman on the show. And by the way, Vince is going to be signing autographs today at the Westin,
Yes.
6:30 to 8:30, right across the street from the ballpark. You can just stop by to the couples ballroom and Vince will sign for you. But when Coleman came up in 1985, that team was moribund. And they got off to a bad start. And I think they were 20-20, and they wound up winning 101 games.
And you had the Cardinals win 83 games last year. It's kind of surprising when you think about it, with all their issues with runners in scoring position. Wasn't a great season offensively for Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. Really, the entirety of the season, you really didn't have much pop in that lineup. Anything consistent going on there.
No, and
they still won 83 games.
Still won 83 games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you get a great bullpen and a great manager that knows how to operate the bullpen. You got a chance.
We'll talk about this more, and you'll be able to see both the full interview with Derrick Goold and clips online later today.
No,
What?
I didn't hear what you said. What did you
I
say?
said you get a great bullpen and a great manager that knows how to operate it. You got a chance.
Randy.
Terrible.
Terrible. That's going to be brought up at some point.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah.
Why are you guys? See, I'm Sunshine Lollipops.
Oh, my God. No, you're not. You're like
No,
a
it's
fake
little
Sunshine and Lollipop.
Aggressive. It's a
Yeah, see,
little
it's a
passive.
little different. Thank you,
aggressive.
Brooke.
It's
Correct.
like saying no offense, but
Okay. What I was going to say, Derrick Gould's final question and answer with you guys.
Mhm.
We talked a lot about Chaim Bloom and where, yes, hi, I am in the bubble. Chaim Bloom and the Tampa Bay model. Does Derrick Gould's answer of expecting Bloom to bring the blend of both the more high wire stuff he was pulling off in Boston and the low budget things in Tampa Bay, are you buying the blend? And do you think fans will buy into it and that'll be enough to maybe curb some of the budget franchise Tampa Bay-esque stuff people are getting ready to accuse the Cardinals of becoming over the next 5 years?
I think this is a great question, and we just didn't have time to get further into the in depth with this with Derrick. But one thing I wonder, and it's a great question, Matthew, and I appreciate you bringing it up, because the reason that we're here is because the Cardinals gave John Mozeliak enough money to either have a minor league system or spend on major league players. That's going to have to change if they're going to have this hybrid, isn't it? Because they're going to have to be able to still have a system and a development system with all these new coaches that they've hired and minor league instructors. But then they're still going to have to pay major league players big time salaries. So unless they're willing to expand their overall baseball budget, and this is with constrained revenue, I don't think they can do it. I think they're going to have to choose the Tampa Bay model or paying players at the major league level, unless they're going to spend more money than they've ever spent in the past, or maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't see how they can do it, Brooke.
We discussed this earlier about how they've fallen behind, and that's something that's been discussed, and that's why they're trying to focus on their minor league system and getting back to developing. That's something that really stood out to me that Bill DeWitt Jr. talked about in that postseason press conference when they were introducing Chaim Bloom, talking about this transition of what this will look like, is that he mentioned is that they admitted, they didn't put everything into the minor league system. It seems like they're more focused on free agency, which we've seen in the past. Payroll hasn't been exactly an issue for the Cardinals. They've spent a lot of money on their payroll, but sometimes not the most effectively, especially when it comes to pitchers that we've seen. But now they're trying to get back to that. I think that they've fallen behind. I think the Brewers are a great example within your own division of how they are kind of trendsetters rather than falling behind. And maybe if the Cardinals can at least get back to that, it will have people a little bit more on board. But I don't know how exactly they're going to bounce this, because this isn't just a Cardinals issue. You've seen all the stuff. We had Andrew Miller. We had that discussion up the other day where we're getting really close to a work stoppage, possibly, because there's a back and forth between the salary cap and salary floor. And the owners are saying, look, TV revenue is going down. You don't have that gravy train of cable TV anymore. So what will this look like, and how much will this affect our payroll?
And that's why it seems like the last point you made there is the first question they ask.
Yeah.
Right. How is this going to affect our payroll? How is this going to affect our bottom line? And that's not to say, because I know that there's people out there, right, that are thinking, okay, I'm right. The Cardinals don't care about winning because they don't want to spend money. No, it's again, I'll say this. it's not about how much money you spend necessarily. It's about how you spend the money that you spend. And how much, well, that's the question again. How much have the Cardinals wasted over the last half dozen years on the Matt Carpenter extension, on Andrew Miller, on Brett Cecil, before that Mike Leake, before that Dexter Fowler?
You could even argue Wilson Contreras. Nothing against Wilson Contreras,
but you paid him $87.5 million to be a catcher.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's Matthew. Yes.
Can I throw out a little breaking news? St. Louis centrics, not Cardinals. A little change here. The Flash now official. Sham Sharani on Twitter. The Los Angeles Lakers are converting two-way Jordan Goodwin to a standard NBA contract, making him playoff eligible, sources tell ESPN. Goodwin has emerged as a key reserve for J.J. Redick, averaging 6.4 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 20.5 minutes while shooting 41% from three. Absolutely. Go Jordan Goodwin. Yeah. What a monster. Hearing those numbers you see, he's be able to continue growing as a player with that shooting from three, but also continues to bring that hard-headed guard play that you saw here in St. Louis when he started racking up double-doubles as a 6'3 guard, 6.4 points, 3.9 rebounds. He's got the full NBA contract. He's going to be playing in the playoffs. I love this for Jordan Goodwin. Love this for St. Louis.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Good for him.
It is great.
God, all right, awesome. Air 404, name not found, says, love your live show. Glad you both have landed on your feet. You know, when I fall off my bike, I don't land on my feet.
You just fall on the ground.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Though,
another one. This is from Bubs, one of our favorites. And Bubs says, honestly, when Nashville is good, they verge on being one of the Blues' biggest rivals. You know, one of the things, when you walk into that building and the intimidation factor, then you look up and you see Western Conference champions, that banner up there.
Oh, come on,
it's intimidating. It is for the other team.
It's a newer team.
That would be regular season Western Conference champions.
Yes, I know. It's very Lakers-esque where, you put up your little preseason banner and it really doesn't mean much. And Nashville really just kind of walked themselves into that one. So I have nothing I can say. I mean, it's easy to make fun of. It really is.
Thank you.
It's a newer team. That's the only thing I got for you. Going back to the Cardinals, I just want to say one more thing because Katie Wu of The Athletic has a great article out right now that she put out the other day talking about how they are starting to do things in the minor league system. And we know that GM-wise, right now, it's John Mozeliak. He's acting as the GM, but the GM in waiting, kind of assistant GM, is Robert Cifolio, who is very young, by the way.
32, 33.
The Cardinals allowed him to add multiple new staff positions, including 3 directors, 4 new coordinators, and several reassignments. Why do you think that this is so important for him to be able to add that? Because I know that there's even like a doctor. There's different things that he's been able to add, which kind of goes back to the developing part of things.
And yeah, that's the key. When people like Jordan Walker get to the majors and they aren't ready, Nolan Gorman gets to the majors, not ready. So many young,
keeping them healthy,
right?
Like keeping these players healthy too.
I think we could argue that Lars Nootbaar was not ready when even though he had time and he played at USC, played at a good program. But I think the Cardinals had a tendency to just think that the draft players and say, oh, they can play, rather than teaching them how to play. And they're young. When you draft a 19-year-old, you have to still teach them how to play, especially now more than ever because of all the individualized coaching and the showcases rather than the games where players learn how to make baseball plays. I think it's more important now than ever to have people teach players how to play baseball.
And you have to think, too, about the people that you've lost within your minor league system, because by getting rid of Mike Schilt as a manager, as we know, the philosophical differences, but at the same time, getting rid of him in your minor league system, he had been a part of their minor league system from the bottom up for a long time and knew the Cardinals system, knew exactly what they wanted, which makes the philosophical differences a little bit weirder, but we could talk about that another day. Even elevating Ole Marmol, which it's great to hire from within, but even elevating him, that's removing somebody else from your minor league system. So they had to put all of that back in, but also hiring people from outside the organization. I think if we are looking for sunshine lollipops, it's great that the Cardinals are finally doing that.
And here's a statistic that I love and hate. Between 1996 and last year, the Cardinals did not hire a person from another major league organization that had a significant voice. Wow. From Tony La Russa in 1996 until last year when they hired Chaim Bloom, they hired some people from the business world like Gersh, like Jeff Luhnow, but they didn't hire a person with a voice in baseball operations, a significant voice in baseball operations between those two from 1996 to 2024.
That's insane.
Yeah. So you aren't learning about what other teams are doing to pass you up.
Yeah, that's a big thing is you got to be able to adapt. And you can still, I think it may be, do you think that they were maybe a little bit too stuck into the Cardinals way in a bad sense? You know, that the fact that, okay, well, this is the way we've been doing it. We're going to only hire from within. We don't need outside voices. But then you see at the same time, by sticking to that plan, they fell behind.
Their ego got too big. They thought, oh, well, we are cutting edge, but everybody passed them, like 25, 26 franchises passed them in terms of.
They used to be the model.
The
story that you would always tell about
the
how they would point.
Yeah.
How you point to the dugout and say, that's the model that everybody's trying to emulate.
And hopefully the Cardinals will be able to regain what they were a decade ago. A couple of other chat items we want to get to. Travis White, a better farm system will solve a lot of problems. When you draft, when you draft and develop, there it is. Instead of having to fill holes with free agents, you can afford to focus on an impact player or two. You're 100% right. And the Cardinals were able to hype their young players, and many times the hype was real, and they just misidentified the right guys to trade.
Yeah, we've seen that pay off better for those trades.
Sandy Alcantara starts for the Marlins today, by the way, coming off Tommy John surgery.
Man, that's always a rough one.
Matt Hearing, a cap is coming. We might lose a season, but it's coming. I wonder if baseball would be able to bounce back from that. I don't think they would. And
you don't
Matt,
think so? You think?
I think if they're out for a year with all the competition in sports now, I think it'd be really hard for baseball to get back to where it is right now.
Because you've said it before, we're in a microwave society. If people aren't seeing you right then and there, then you kind of fall behind.
Right. Yeah. So what do we do?
And ESPN's not going to talk about you either.
They already aren't.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they were beforehand, but now we know that that's no longer going to happen either.
Matt Johnson, the economics of baseball has changed dramatically over the last 5 years. Much harder for mid-market teams to compete. St. Louis has lost a lot of corporate spending on sports. You have to compete in a different way, and you have to be smarter than you were 5 years ago. And it is harder to compete just because the Dodgers in their current iteration exist right now. So when they're able to put together a double pitching staff, the Dodgers, when healthy, and that's not very often, but they have a second group of 5 pitchers that would be the starting rotation for a lot of teams.
Yeah, and the thing is too is that of course nobody's competing in the Dodgers water of spending, and we've talked about that at length, but at the same time you can be innovative. You can find different ways. That's why I really applaud what the Brewers have done and even the Diamondbacks of signing, you know, some of these younger players, evaluating that talent early on, getting them to those big contracts where it really pays off. And for those young players, of course, I know that then you can run into trouble where maybe you misidentify a player. You hope that by giving them that contract that they won't sit back and say, okay, well, I got my money. I don't really have to play as hard. You'd hope it'd be like a Jackson Churios situation, like with the Brewers, where you identify that early on and look at how much it's paid off for them.
And you have to properly identify. That's another thing the Cardinals did. Not that it was a bad thing, because I was on board with them signing Paul DeJong to the long-term contract. Didn't work out. Signing Alan Craig to the long-term contract. Didn't work out. Signing Colton Wong to the long-term contract. Didn't really work out. Carlos Martinez gets a long-term contract. It worked out for a couple of years. He was really good for a couple of years, but long-term did not work out. You have to really identify those guys that can be good for you for the 5 years of the contract that you sign them to.
That's why I don't hate that you're spending more money on the minor league system. I just hate that it got to that point where you had to re-emphasize that, and that you had to admit, yeah, we didn't really put as much into our minor league system. Remember when Sonny Gray came over, he pointed out the deficiencies that the Cardinals had in their coaching staff.
Yeah.
I don't know if they liked him saying that publicly, but he did.
But they need more. And GB gives us a note. He says, draft and develop, but they have to mix in quality free agent signings. And that's one of the difficulties that the Cardinals have now too, is that, for example, Corbin Burns goes to the Diamondbacks for $210 million. That would be a hefty sum for the Cardinals to pay, but he went there for less money because he wanted to go home to Arizona. This is not baseball heaven anymore. This is not Mark McGwire and Darryl Kyle and Jim Edmonds wanting to come here and play for less. That hometown discount doesn't exist for St. Louis anymore. So if you get a quality free agent signing, you're going to have to gamble on somebody that is that turns out to be more productive than everybody else thought that player was going to be.
Yeah, and that's about evaluating
Mhm.
properly. And here's the thing too. You even look at the season as we're evaluating a lot of the talent. You might have to go get another right-handed bat or some power
Yeah.
from somewhere. If you don't have things, even a left-handed bat too with Gorman. You have a lot of left-handed bats though. I'm trying to think. It would be more of a right-handed bat if Walker doesn't elevate to what you're
That's the
expecting.
key.
So then, could they mix in free agency via that?
Yeah, they could do that. But again, the Cardinals are never going to go to that 10-year, $350 million.
I don't think they'll ever do that. Yeah.
Not under this ownership.
No.
And I don't know if they'll ever make enough money. They expect to lose $40 million this year, $18 million with TV losses, $22 million with revenue, ticket revenue going down. That's their projection. Could change because they could sell a lot more tickets. But $40 million that they had available last year or the year before last year that they don't anticipate having in 2025.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
That is a lot of money.
One other thing that I think we need to point out here is we're talking about right-handed hitters.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't even realize this. I just assumed because of his dad. Ethan Holiday is a left-handed hitter.
Oh, really? Isn't
Yeah.
the projection that he would go to the Cardinals?
Yeah,
Or-
number 5. Yeah, but the Cardinals, we've talked about this. And we'll talk about it more. But if Jordan Walker doesn't turn out, they're going to have to get themselves a right-handed
That's what
power
I
hitter.
was saying. Yeah, is
Yeah.
that you might have to, if Jordan Walker doesn't work out, you might have to go get a right-handed
But that
power
might
bat.
have to be a college guy that is closer to the major leagues too.
Yeah.
All right, we've got opening day. We've got Cards Hub 365 coming up at 1, the pregame show. And then we'll have post-game Cards Hub after the game, all here on YouTube and Sports Hub STL. Blues in Nashville tonight, taking on the former Western Conference champion Predators.
You will never let that go, will
No,
you?
I won't. Post-game coming your way after that game. And then we are back at it to review and overreact to opening day tomorrow.
Yes. Let's overreact.
we-
You know what? We were sunshine lollipops. We were too nice today. We're just going to really hammer them
What
tomorrow.
if they win?
We'll find something.
Okay.
We'll
By
find
the way,
something.
did we even give the lineup?
No, it's the same one as the other
Yeah,
day,
so,
but if you want to
Newt-
run it down.
Newt Barr in left. Contreras is hitting second at first base. I don't like this lineup, by the way. Donovan is your second baseman hitting third. Arenado hitting fourth at third base. Burley hitting fifth. Herrera hitting sixth. Walker hitting seventh. Scott hitting eighth. Wynn hitting ninth. I just wish that they would move Wynn up to 1. Then everything else would be fine.
I don't exactly hate Lars Nootbaar leading off. And before you say it's because I'm the president of his fan
You
club,
are.
I need to point out, though, that the numbers were not exactly great for Mason Wynn in the leadoff spot last season, because last season he had a .290 on base percentage, and that ranked 29th among all 30 of the big league teams. And with Lars Nootbaar, during his career, when he's leading off, he has a .358 on base percentage. So maybe it will change as Wynn kind of gathers himself a little bit more with his bat.
He's got Brent Brown now.
He's got Brent Brown there. Yeah,
There's
that's
a 450 on base just waiting to happen.
Yeah. We
So-
got to get over to the ballpark.
Yeah, great job by our producer, audio, video engineer, Matthew Rocky. Are you doing any on-air material today, sir?
I'll be
you're
in the
working a lot.
background of the Cards Hub 365 show at 1 p.m.
Just put yourself in the bubble. I'll be watching on my phone. Just put yourself in the
Other
bubble
than
for me,
that,
please.
No.
Okay.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. Jeff said the N in Nashville stands for never won anything. You're right.
You know what the N on the side of the Nebraska helmet stands for? Knowledge.
Randy. Rocco's face right now.
Thanks to Schnooks for the cookie cake and Joe Roderick for the cookie cake.
Yeah, I
Uh,
guess we can
yeah.
say thanks.
We
to Joe
will
for
see
that.
you at the ballpark. I'm actually going to spend time. If you're coming down to the game, I'm going to be over at the Folds of Honor tent at Ballpark Village. Stop by and say hi.
Nice.
Yeah. We're going to try to raise money for scholarships for the spouses and children of fallen military and first responders. So
Yeah.
I will be down there until like noon to 2 or something like that. So we hope we see you there. And if we don't, we hope we see you here, whether you're in Denver or Phoenix or we had a DC today. Tell your friends about it. We want all 50 states to be represented, all 51, I guess, Canada too. We want everybody to be represented.
Randy.
Everybody.
And
to
this
be
is what happens
represented.
when you give him cookie cakes. This
Oh,
is
yeah,
what
it is, it
happens.
We will see you tomorrow, I think at 10:02.
Yes.
With
That's the new
Randy
standard.
Karraker
New
show.
standard. Look, he's kicking.